This is the Airfleet Debrief. We are going to be talking about something marketers can take away and implement right away, hopefully, but it's a tall order because we've only got 15 minutes to do so. So today I am joined by one of my favorite marketers, Peter Zaballos. Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you, Kamala. I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, I've spent the last 10 years or so as a CMO at high growth tech companies. And before that, in operating roles and investing roles in early stage tech startups.
Awesome. Which makes you perfectly suited to what we're talking about today, which is not falling into the cookie cutter trap. And I know that could mean a lot of different things. So let's talk about what we mean here a little bit.
When we've talked about this, it's taking the playbook that you just had and trying to rerun it at the new role you're in. And uh, um, and that's dangerous because so much of what you do in that new role depends on you having like super clarity on what is the category that we are in and how are we positioned and how are we qualified to hold that position. And that uh, is paired really closely to who are our targets and what do they care about and what is important to them. So if you don't have clarity on, where does your business fall in the category, and who are the 4 or 5 or 10 potential customers and what do they care about? What are their roles? What are their personas? Um, you really can't run an effective marketing organization or a playbook of any kind. So picking up what worked, for a web service that costs $400 a month, and trying to move that, well, to a company that Camel and I were deeply involved with, trying to move that to software that costs 6 and 7 and 8 figures. The playbooks don't work going from one to the other. So to me, it's getting the fundamentals right at the very beginning and doing the hard work of understanding what is this business, why are we going to win, and who do we serve?
So many things are happening in my brain right now.
Yeah.
um, I just keep thinking of, I was talking to my husband about this morning, and he said, "Do you remember when websites years ago, you used to have to wait 5 to 7 seconds for the animation to play before you got to the page, and no one would tolerate that now, and people were kind of irritated by it then. There's these fads that happen and come and go. So in marketing, one of the things I love about it is change is constant, and where your audience is moves over time. So how do you go about figuring out what people want and where they are?"
Well, I think a lot of it begins and ends with understanding that um, those people are finding you because of a journey that they were following that begins with them. And I used to mention this to the marketing teams I worked with and work with now. Your main job is to understand what is that prospect typing into a search engine or an AI at 3 o'clock in the morning because they can't sleep because they have this problem at work. And all of that has nothing to do with the thing you're selling them. They're writing words down that have everything to do with their business and their problem. And then you need to understand, how do I create a journey that brings that person with that problem to me? Um, and where you meet them, I think, is going to be a function of how well are you analyzing the engagement of that journey? Because to your point, marketing is a constant case of looking at data and tuning and adjusting what you're doing based upon what the data is telling you about where that customer is, what that prospect is, and what's important to them. So you may find that the data is going to tell you that some of these people come from LinkedIn, some of these people come from TikTok. Um, some of them are using regular search engines. Some of them are gathering at other places, in Reddit. They could be gathering in Reddit talking about their problem. So you have to be absolutely obsessed with the data and understanding what does the data tell you about where these people are and where they find value, and then you need to go meet them there.
I love that because you're acknowledging that people come from a lot of different places. It's interesting. I've heard a lot of people say that AI, ChatGPT is the new Google, but it sounds
Hmm.
like there's still a big place for search engine optimization and really understanding what's motivating your buyers and what they're searching for.
Absolutely, because AI, there is latency. There's tremendous latency in AI, and it's phenomenal for a lot of things, but it's not phenomenal for finding out what's happening right this minute in a topic area. And I think search engine optimization is not going to go away because people are going to be searching for things. And what is going to change is search engine optimization used to just be the domain of text.
Yeah.
And now you need to be thinking about where are people looking for video? Um, where are people looking for podcasts that talk about these things? So I think the fundamentals are all still there, but the channels you're going to go to apply the analytics to tell you where do I meet these people, that's all changing, and that's the best part about being in marketing right now. Um, it is you have to be an open mindset, curious, full-time learner because whatever worked last year is not relevant now, and you need to have moved on to a whole nother set of tactics and resources.
I hear you. I took on a volunteer client recently and their website still had the keywords in the HTML header and I was like, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. But Google is kind of transparent about how they form their algorithm and what's changing. And what's been obvious is that they are certainly learning and evolving to embrace content that people are engaging with and actually want to consume. So how how do you think about this in terms of the content throughout the website? So what I'm hearing is you're thinking about the keywords that people are searching for when they have a problem. Do you think of how to solve the problem as more of an education blog type thing, or do you think of that as money copy for your actual homepage?
Yes. Um, I think, uh, and I'm still a pretty big fan of the whole buyer's journey concept. I think you need to be thinking about, uh, you know, how do you get them at the awareness stage where they're talking 100% about their problems, but then how do you help them understand what are the potential solutions, and then why your specific solution is the best one for them. So you need to be thinking about optimizing that entire process and that entire journey to you. And uh, and so going back to your point about SEO, you need to be thinking about the thousands of terms that are relevant and across those stages. And this goes back to like some of the most phenomenally talented marketers I know are profound introverts that are incredibly analytical because that's the world they like to live in. Let me look at those thousands of terms across these stages of self-education, and how do I make sure that I'm reaching those prospects? And the other thing that we all need to remember is we don't like talking to salespeople. Nobody likes talking to salespeople until they absolutely have to. So the people that buy your product are going to do anything they can to avoid talking to a human if they can do it. And the flip side of that is how do you turn that into your advantage? How do you provide a digital journey that gets that prospect to 90% of a decision to buy your product before they even talk to a salesperson? Because that's your advantage. If your competitor only gets them 60% of the way there, they're going to lose a lot of those prospects because they just don't want to talk to salespeople.
And I think a lot of marketers are nodding and agreeing with that. But what I still notice is the traditional mindset around scaling for people who have been in B2B for a while is sales growth first, do it through your network, get the Rolodex out, start calling the people you know. But as you said, I think Gartner said that marketing is the new sales.
Hmm. Hmm.
87% of B2B buyers don't want to ever interact with a person during their buying process. And 90% of the buyer journey is 90% of buyers do not follow a linear journey
Right.
in B2B, particularly if the product's expensive and you have a large buyer committee. So that's a lot. I love what you're saying, though, and thinking of content strategy in terms of buyer journey and meeting people where they're at. One of the things I really admired when I worked with you is you understood that the longer we're around our product, the less objectivity we have. So you really
Hmm.
leveraged companies that did the market research. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, we worked with some phenomenal, super phenomenal agency who would do positioning research for you. And their final test was to test your messaging and positioning on true prospects that they would recruit, so actual potential buyers. And that's how you come back and say, this messaging works great because somebody who we want to sell to who isn't familiar with our product or our business hears those words and says, that's a solution to my problem. So yeah, uh, everybody inside the company has had weeks and months to understand the product. Your existing customers already understand the products. So those two groups of people are really tough to validate. Do you have effective messaging or not?
I love that because so
So you
many
need to get to
times,
true prospects.
yeah, yeah. And so many times the instinct is to go to, well, the customers who successfully purchased from you. But like you said, they're familiar with their product. So it's like I've heard people call it the backyard barbecue test or the cocktail test, where you just somebody asks what you do and you give them the log line for your website and see their eyes glaze over, or hopefully they nod and say, oh, okay, I understand what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Peter, is there anything else you'd like to share before we end the live stream?
No, just the what we're talking about. Uh, Many organizations lead with sales. They lead with network, sort of go into your networks and find these prospects. And I've come up with this term called lead starvation. That does not scale. And so many people in marketing have come into an organization where the sales force is sputtering because they can't get any more prospects out of their network. And they turn to marketing and say, give me leads. And you're like, it'll take us 9 months to build that inbound SEO driven flow of leads in. We're starting really late. So if you can use the networks like crazy, but start your demand generation with search optimization now so that when that network starts to run out, you've got an inbound set of prospects flowing to you for almost nothing.
And if you have to take just one bit of this and run with it right away, keep in mind that your customers and internal employees are not your best source for the language you should use. Talk to your
Mhm.
prospects. I love it. Thank
Exactly.
you, Peter.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.